Who are we talking about?
Hello, Adam Ryan Donato.
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 Hello, Adam Ryan Donaldo.
Hello, Adam Ryan Donato.
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 Welcome. We are here back again because I am ever so quickly going through the Disney library so that I can finally rank all these movies, and I'm going backwards. I just did the revival era. I spent most of my teens growing up through the revival era. Now, this is my childhood. We have 1999 when I was born through 2008, I think it was. What year did Bolt come out? 2008 was when Bolt came out. So I'm gonna have some weird opinions here because I was a child. I remember going to the theater for so many of these movies. I remember having a lot of these movies on VHS. Obviously, I had a lot of Silver Age and Renaissance movies growing up as well. In every era, honestly, besides the wartime era, these were the ones that came out when I was a child. So I saw them in the theater. They were more important to me. They were probably more impactful on the principle of I saw them in a theater. Last time I had the majority of the DVDs. This time I only have 4. The post-Renaissance, it just sounds bad by the name. It was after all the good stuff happened. It definitely seemed like a transitional period because at this point, Pixar had established themselves with Toy Story. Even more dangerous during this era is DreamWorks really started picking up the pace. Studio Ghibli became more mainstream in American culture. There's a lot more competition, whereas before there was very select amount of studios that were making widely released animated films. So let's dive in with one of the 2D animated movies on the list. Number 11, Home on the Range. Now, Home on the Range is bad. I remember not really liking this movie that much when I grew up with it anyways. I remember I liked The Horse with Cuba Gooding Jr. I watched this movie within the last 2 years. I know that for sure because I remember thinking, it can't be that bad, huh? I really like the song, the yodeling song. It's really good. Roseanne Barr from the hit show Roseanne, along with Judi Dench and Jennifer Tilly as these group of cows that are going on an adventure to save their farm. There's not a lot of music in this. That's definitely something that puts it lower for me. It's one of the least good animated movies from Disney. Also, this is right around 2004. Pixar came out with The Incredibles this year. Shrek 2 also came out in 2004. So big oof there, Disney. This is without a doubt probably one of the worst Disney animated movies of all time. I'm pretty sure when I make my full rankings of everything that this is going to be so low because the bad part about the post-Renaissance is we hit some record lows and this is certainly one of them. One of the reasons why we probably don't get as many 2D animated movies. We don't get any 2D animated movies these days from Disney. Thanks, Home on the Range. It's whatever, I guess. It's not like offensively bad or anything. Like, that's the thing with Disney movies. There's a floor. It can't be that terrible, right? It's just the least appealing one. This movie's bad. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Number 10, Brother Bear. Now, Brother Bear is a movie that I remember growing up with. This might be a weird thing, but I always think about this movie in the same breath that I think of Tarzan because they both have the Phil Collins soundtrack. It's great. It's not as good here as it was in Tarzan, but it's still good here. Even this is not like a bad movie. I think this is like a 3-star movie for me, whereas Home on the Range was probably like a 2 or a 1. Even if it is a 1, compared to other 1 animated movies, it probably clears it because it's just so bad for Disney standards. Now, this is just mediocre. I don't know, I remember a decent amount about this. Tell everybody I'm on my way. And then you got the mooses. They're funny, and I love Rick Moranis. I remember him fighting the bear and the difference between him, the human as a bear with human eyes, when he sees the bear who has just like black eyes, and it's terrifying. I remember I vividly remember that. Like, I vividly remember this movie from my childhood. That being said, the next entry on this list, Bolt. I remember watching this movie growing up. I definitely saw it in theaters. I definitely saw it on Disney Channel a couple times. My girlfriend hadn't seen it, and she knew nothing about it, so when we watched it together, it opens up and it's the show, but she doesn't know that, so she's just like, oh, it's like a superhero movie with like a dog, like dope. And then it's like cut, and like everyone starts to move all the set pieces. It plays really well for someone who doesn't know what the concept of the movie is. Besides the dog TV show aspects of this movie, it really just doesn't work that much for me. I mean, I would say it's significantly better than Brother Bear. The animation, I feel like they really got a better grasp on how to do humans in this compared to Meet the Robinsons. The humans are more sparingly used than they are in Meet the Robinsons. Like, the main character's a human in Meet the Robinsons, but here it's a couple animals, and Bolt's so cute. Come on. John Travolta, I feel like, is an uninspired voice acting choice. He's fine. It's not a problem. Miley Cyrus is in the movie, and I remember at the time she was in Hannah Montana, like, this was like Miley Cyrus, and like she does a good job, I guess. I don't really know. I mean, I like it because I'm like, that's Miley Cyrus. It's Hannah Montana, baby. There's a little sidekick character that's like a hamster. He's like, awesome, like all the time. Like, his whole thing is that he loves Bolt and his show. He's just like a groupie, but he's like also like wanting to be his sidekick. So he's like epic all the time, just like super intense and like, let's go. I don't know. He's just not very funny to me, and I don't care about him at all. The cat sidekick character, I like her. I get her whole thing, and I feel for her. She has a Jessie from Toy Story 2 moment where it's like, when somebody loved me. So I care about her. I buy the bond that she makes with Bolt throughout the movie, but there's just really nothing special here. It's not really that emotionally gripping. It's not really funny. The concept is cute, but it's not very special, and it's not a musical. 3 out of 5, but like, it's whatever, you know? Number 8, we have a movie that I actually saw for the first time this month, which was Fantasia 2000. Here's my Fantasia story. So I never saw either Fantasia movie. So this month I watched them both, and I didn't back to back them, but it was within a couple days. And I watched the first Fantasia movie, and it was hard to get through. It was like a 2-hour plus movie where there's no plot or anything. And I was just like, I mean, I appreciate this, I respect it, but I don't enjoy watching it. Days later, it just starts growing on me, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I'm like reading the trivia, and I love the poster. And I remember I watched this one, and I probably enjoyed watching this one more because it was shorter, but I acknowledge that the first one is entirely better in every single way, shape, and form. This one, the skits don't really mesh together. I really like the whales in space. That's beautiful. That's gorgeous. The nature lady, that was a really standout one. Donald Duck being Noah's Ark was a standout in like, not really the best way, because it's just like, okay, why? I don't really agree with the concept of having Sorcerer's Apprentice play again, especially if your movie is only an hour and 15 minutes long, which, like, I get it. If it's like significantly cheaper to restore that footage and make it look better than to let one of your other animated shorts make, because they brag, they're like, oh, we had so many shorts, so many that were in contention to be picked for this movie, because it's an hour shorter than the first one. It's significantly shorter. It's still nice to see it again. It's just the fact that I just watched Fantasia that I was like, I just saw this, and I kind of checked out for that moment because I was like, oh, it's brighter now. Great. Oh, the flamingo one was cute. I guess there weren't as many that I really liked, but I really respect it. It's really cool that they made a movie where they were just like, all right, let's just make these dope shorts and we'll set them to music. That's the movie. I've heard people complain about the comedian bits in between with famous people, and yeah, that's weird and annoying. Part of the thing about Fantasia is it's classy, you know what I mean? But this one, I don't know, it's goofier. I feel like it's lower class. Doesn't work as well. The shorts don't coexist like they did in Fantasia. It's still good. Like, this is a very enjoyable movie. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. Like, I really like this. It's just an inferior version of something we already have. It's good for what it is. Number 7, we have a movie that I actually didn't grow up with. See, it's weird because I said this is the generation of movies that I grew up with that came out while I was alive as a child. Fantasia 2000, just saw it for the first time. Number 7 on this list, I also saw for the first time a year ago, which was Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Now, this is a movie voiced by Michael J. Fox, a nerdy little cartographer dude or biologist or something. I don't really care. Historian, I think, maybe. He finds out where the lost city of Atlantis is. He goes on this big journey with a bunch bunch of army people to go discover what it is. It's a big fantasy epic adventure. It's the same genre as Wreck-It Ralph or Raya and the Last Dragon or Big Hero 6. It's not a musical. It's more dark. It's more genre driven. It's more high concept. I like it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm actually kind of surprised by that because there's nothing that really stands out that I really love. I do love the look. It's beautifully animated. It is a fun, cool fantasy movie, but it's just not one that has personal resonance for me, and it didn't really hit me that hard the first time. I did the opposite as I did with Fantasia, whereas Fantasia, I was thinking about it more as the days went on. Atlantis, I almost entirely forgot after I watched it for the first time. It's good. I'm not knocking it. It's 4 out of 5. It's just not something that I'm very passionate about compared to a lot of these other movies that I'm extremely passionate about. Number 6 on the list, we have a movie that I differ with the world on so much, and I have such a dumb reason to differ with the world for. It is Treasure Planet. It's a good movie. I know the history behind this movie. I know how hard it was to make this movie, to get the studio to let them do this. I understand that and I respect that, and I love the concept. I love the idea. Let's take this like classic story and let's give it a modern twist in a genre changing kind of way. I mean, it's still a pirate movie. Now it's a space pirate movie. You know what I mean? It's like Star Wars. Treasure Planet, I really love the idea, and this movie is stunning. The ships flying through space, that's gorgeous. The sequences where he's skateboarding around, I mean, he's not skateboarding, it's like surf flying. It's really hard to explain, but it's breathtaking, honestly. And it's still a great story because it's the story of Treasure Island. My problem with their interpretation of the story of Treasure Island is that I care very much about Treasure Island. It's not even because I love Treasure Island, it's because one of my favorite movies of all time is Muppet Treasure Island, starring the Tim Curry. It is perfect. It understands when making a Treasure Island adaptation, the most important aspect of the movie to get right is the relationship between Jim Hawkins and Long John Silver. This is everything. This is the most important thing. In Muppet Treasure Island, they do it so perfectly. You feel that at the end of the movie when Jim spots Long John Silver trying to get away with the treasure and he lets him go. I see so much conflict in him. Long John Silver is so likable, and that's because Tim Curry just has an all-time great villain performance in Muppet Treasure Island. And he's so likable, but he's also so sinister, but he's having fun being so evil. I feel so conflicted about him. Jim is this Captain America type, oh, I'm a good guy, I'm gonna do the right thing for my friends and care for him because he's just this innocent little kid, but he's being, for lack of a better word, seduced by this crooked pirate. Whereas in the Disney version, Treasure Planet, I feel like Jim Hawkins doesn't care about anything. He's being chased by the cops constantly. He's like a troubled teen. Oh, go on this trip so you can grow and, you know, hopefully find out who he is. That's great and all, but it just seems like he doesn't care about anything the entire movie. Long John Silver is very charismatic in this. Yes, he's a bad guy too, and I love how his hand looks and his eye, and it's just so beautifully animated. At the end, it's much more of this like uplifting friendship, and you almost want Jim to go with Long John at the end, even though you know that that's not how it's supposed to go. Jim is a piece of shit, so I kind of want him to go with Long John, who's also a piece of shit. Whereas in Muppet Treasure Island, I'm like, oh, this good kid with a good soul is not going to be corrupted by this pirate. I'm very biased, clearly, because I thoroughly love the Muppet version much more. I even listened to the audiobook of Treasure Island, the original one, so that I could better understand the story, and still nothing is going to top Muppet Treasure Island for me. That is the best adaptation of this. You know how people every Christmas are like, oh, Muppet Christmas Carol is the best Christmas movie. Oh my gosh, the best adaptation of this story, and there's like a million adaptations of it. That's how I feel about Muppet Treasure Island. Treasure Planet's good. I really like the robot played by, I think it's Martin Short, and he's just screaming the entire time. This is also one I did not watch until I was like 19 and in college. I bet I would like it a lot more if I watched it when it came out, when I was like maybe like 3 or 4. Sorry, movie that my parents did not take me to see you. I did rewatch it recently to give it a benefit of the doubt, and I had previously given it 3 stars, and now it is a 4-star movie. Proud of it for being as high on this list as it is. Number 5, we have a movie that would be in a lot of people's bottom 5 of Disney old time. I don't blame them. That's fine. But for me, it's so good. I did rewatch it a week or 2 ago just so I can confirm that I was like, am I crazy? I'm not crazy, right? This movie is entertaining. I remember loving when I was a child. I can visualize the experience of going to watch that movie as a child. Watching it just a week ago, it holds up. I was cackling the entire time. Now, I believe there is a genre known as so bad that it's good. Number 5 on this list, Chicken Little. It is so bad that it is great. Let's get this out of the way. I know it's bad. I know there's so many things that are bad about it. You don't have to tell me, oh, Adam, you're so stupid. Chicken Little is like the worst movie ever. I know that. It's ugly. The animation is absolutely disgusting. I would actually probably say that this is the worst animated movie in Disney history. It is disgusting. Zach Braff is so, I want to say niche. I mean, Scrubs is a popular show, but I get it. If you don't find Zach Braff funny, I get it. I get that the songs, the pop culture references are very outdated. The plot is so left turn out of nowhere. It's a baseball movie for like 30 minutes and then it's about aliens now. It just doesn't work as a movie. And the relationship between Chicken Little and his dad is awkward. It's less emotional and more cringy. I feel for them. For a week now, I've been quoting to my girlfriend. I go, who are we talking about? It's so dumb, but it's so funny. I really revel in the old pop culture references. The I Will Survive moment is great. Don't Go Breaking My Heart in the credits slaps. This movie, it's got Steve Zahn in it. He plays the pig. I love him. He's so funny in everything he does. And here he's great as well. This movie also has stuck with me for a long time. If you say the word closure, I think of Chicken Little. This movie is really bad. And I'm biased because I play baseball growing up. So I like that aspect of it. It's the end of the world as we know it. Like, this movie's bad, but it's such a good time. It's such a nostalgic movie for me. It is so bad that it's good. I enjoy it. It's so funny. Like, just purely from a comedic standpoint, it is one of the funniest Disney movies of all time. Not to mention, One Little Slip is a certified banger. One little slip, do, one little slip. It means so much to me. That song is one of my favorite songs of all time. This movie, under the right circumstances, slaps. Number 4, we have another movie that means so much to me, but nothing to the rest of the world. Dinosaur. It's a movie about a dinosaur named Aladar who goes with his family of monkeys, or if they're not monkeys, they're lemurs. I think they're lemurs. They go on this journey with a traveling herd of a collection of dinosaurs to try to find a new home, like a haven with green and water. This movie's dope, okay? Let's talk about the opening sequence of this movie. I mean, after he gets born, obviously, I'm not talking about when we see him in the stomach of the mom, and then you see the shadows of all the other dinosaurs walking by. That's a very weird choice. The score by James Newton Howard is impeccable. The egg travels. That sequence is one of my favorite openings to any movie ever. Obviously, we're following the egg and the Carnotaur attacks, and then the egg goes from one dinosaur to another, and it's flying, and it's now in the water, and, you know, it finally lands with the lemurs, and it's just so grand. The music is so heavenly. This is the closest that I've felt to Jurassic Park when it comes to dinosaurs. Like, how awesome and beautiful and breathtaking these creatures really are. I know that a lot of people don't like the animation in this movie. I happen to enjoy it a little bit, especially the Carnotaur. That is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Have you been on the ride? The ride at Animal Kingdom is legitimately terrifying. It's great. It's fantastic. Just a bunch of mechanical dinosaurs running at you. I grew up in Central Florida. I went to Disney quite frequently. I used to be an annual pass holder. I am very familiar with all of the rides and attractions. Dinosaur is one of my all-time favorite rides at any theme park ever. Forget Disney. And also, dinosaurs are dope. Yeah, it sucks that we spend the majority of the time in the desert, and it's really like slow in the middle, and we're just trudging along. A lot of the side characters aren't as funny or emotionally gripping or have as much personality as other Disney movies, but sorry, I'm just happy they made a movie that was like vastly different than everything else Disney makes. Yes, this also fits in the same category as Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Raya, Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6. It's not a musical, so that sucks, but it's such a cool concept. The story's a little bit too simple and some of the characters are very cliche, but at the end of the movie where they're facing off against the Carnotaur, oh, forget the ending of the movie. They're hiding in the cave when it's raining at night from the Carnotaur. This movie is scary, man. I love this movie. It freaks me out, but it's great. I think it's a 5 out of 5. For the purposes of this list, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but this movie really works. It was one of the first retrospective reviews I wrote for Disappointment Media. I'm in love with this movie. I've always been super interested in the movie. It was one of those when I was a kid where scary things were like interesting. Like it scared me. I'd be watching like that, but I'd still be watching. You know, I'm still interested, but I'm terrified. Final 3, baby. Now, number 3, we have a movie that I love. This is a 5 out of 5, no doubter. This movie slaps. I don't know why this movie, it's probably the most underrated Disney movie. I can make a really legitimate case. Meet the Robinsons does not get the credit it deserves. The emotions in this movie are so heavy, and it's also super funny. It's got one of my favorite Disney villains of all time. Bowler Hat Guy is hysterical every step of the way. The way he moves, the way he walks, the things he says. I got a big head and little arms. I don't think you thought this through, Master. He's just enjoying being evil, and he's literally that mustache twirling villain. He thinks of time traveling and bringing a T-Rex. He is being manipulated by his little bowler hat. That is hilarious. I love him. And not to mention the end of this movie. We go back to the regular future and he has the to-do list. Everything's crossed out and it's just an unchecked box and it's just a question mark. We don't know what he's going to do. And they're like, oh, let's adopt him. He's like, no, there's no way we can have him be a part of the Robinson family. And by the time that Cornelius convinced Wilbur to adopt Bowler Hat Guy, he's gone. We just see this look on his face of like, what am I gonna do? And it's so sad. What a crazy note to leave a character off on. Now I know they go back in time and they stop Goob from ever not catching the ball, so he's not going to exist as Mr. Bowler Hat Guy later on, but still, I get the feels from that moment right there. And not to mention Goob's so funny. Goob is hilarious. Everything he does is so relatable. I love the drive on Cornelius. I love all the inventing. It just has the spirit of Tomorrowland. It has the spirit of Walt Disney right here, inventing, keep moving forward. That theme is so inspiring. And at the end of the movie, when Wilbur's like, oh, well, I promised you I'd let you see your mom, and he brings him back, Cornelius is walking up the stairs, and he's like, no. And he runs away, and him slipping on the stairs what makes her turn around. And it's so sad because all he ever wanted was to see his mom, to convince her to keep him. But he knows how awesome his family is going to be and how good his life turns out. If this is the way that things are meant to be, then that's how they're meant to be. So I get the feels, but it's also a really funny Disney movie as well. There is some good music from, I think it's Rob Thomas. These little wonders, these twists and turns of fate, time falls away in these small hours. Rob Thomas, it is. That sequence when has his lab and you see all the inventions in the time lapse grow and you just know that everything's gonna be okay and he's gonna grow up and become an inventor and marry the frog girl and have this big wonderful family and this beautiful perfect future, and I feel like I'm on the carousel of progress. Okay, I love this movie. This movie is a delight. It's also the last one that I own physically. No movies in the post-Renaissance won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. The Best Animated Feature award at the Oscars started in 2001 and Shrek was the first winner. It was up against Monsters Inc. and Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. Well, probably because most of this decade Pixar was sweeping it up. The top 2 movies on this list, well, one of them was in a year that they didn't have the award, and then the other one lost to probably the best anime movie of all time. Number 2 on my list is Lilo and Stitch. Now, Lilo and Stitch has one of the best ad campaigns of any Disney movie ever. I love all of the trailers where we just show an old Disney movie, Ariel singing Part of Your World, and then Stitch just shows up on a surfboard and completely wrecks her. I love how he's this little just agent of chaos. I love the opening of this movie. We're in space. This is completely different and new. This was right before Treasure Planet, so this got to it first. We're seeing this alien society and this mad scientist and this crazy alien creature. He goes off into space and we're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen to him? He's such a crackhead and I love him for that. He's so funny. And then we cut. Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is a bop. This movie's so beautiful. The aesthetic Hawaiian look of this movie is gorgeous. The Elvis soundtrack, perfect. It is one of the best Disney soundtracks where there's no diegetic. None of my characters are singing here, but the music is still on point. Like I've mentioned, there's a song in Chick Little I like. There's a song in Meet the Robinsons I like. This is the first one where I guess this is closer to a Phil Collins soundtrack, except it wasn't a singular person who did the whole thing. It's just a really great collection of music and it all fits really well. Lilo is so relatable. I love her. Nani is such a unique Disney heroine. I love her so much. Her dynamic. This is the real sisters movie. I've had a sister. This is more relatable than Frozen ever was. I love Pleakley with all of my heart. This movie is iconic. Ohana means family. What else do I need to say? This is very close to being my number one spot. This is probably my top 10 Disney movies of all time. Stitch is one of my top 10 favorite Disney characters of all time, probably. This movie is fantastic. And it's so sad. You get the feels, it's funny, the music's great, it looks visually gorgeous. This is the whole package. It's the perfect movie. This is a 5 out of 5. Love Lilo and Stitch. I think definitively, and it's really not close, the funniest Disney movie of all time is The Emperor's New Groove. This is also not a musical. There are musical numbers in it. What's his name? Kuzco. Kronk's little number. As he's sneaking away. David Spade, John Goodman are stellar in this movie. Patrick Warburton, Eartha Kitt is one of my favorite Disney villains of all time. The combination of Yzma and Kronk, besides the fact that there's not like a definitive Disney villain song for them, they're probably my favorite antagonistic entity. They're so funny. Their dynamic is so perfect. How many people have quoted the phrase, "Pull the lever, Kronk, wrong lever"? This movie has staying power. The animation's really good. It's a very emotional movie too. I really feel the relationship formed between John Goodman and David Spade. Love the arc that Kuzco goes through. I can't understate this. The absolute funniest Disney animated movie of all time, and it's not even close. So different than every other Disney movie. Personality turned up to 10. I love it because it's so different than the rest of all the other Disney movies. First and foremost, a comedy, and it stands out for that, and it's all the better for it. Post-Renaissance, after going through it, I love how many risks were taken. Like, yeah, you got some clunkers in Home on the Range and Brother Bear. And even some movies that were ambitious as hell, like Atlantis and Treasure Planet, are both super ambitious, and I just didn't really care for them that much. Some people love those movies as much as I love Dinosaur. The only one that I'm gonna genuinely say is actually a bad movie that I love. Those top 5 movies, Chicken Little, Dinosaur, Meet the Robinsons, Lilo and Stitch, The Emperor's New Groove, are all some of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Out of the 60, I'm sure all of those are in the top 30. Like I said, there's 2 that are in the top 10, definitively. That being said, I'm super biased. I grew up with all these. Which ones do you guys like? Am I dumb? Tell me how dumb I am for liking Chicken Little and Dinosaur. Back to back, baby. I just hit you. Bam, bam. 2 bad takes in a row. Which one's worse? Is it worse that I think Chicken Little is so bad that it's good, or is it worse that I think Dinosaur is legitimately a really solid movie? I mean, think about it. How many good dinosaur movies do you know? Land Before Time's probably better than this. And obviously Jurassic Park. A lot of what's wrong with dinosaurs is the concept of putting these CG dinosaurs on these real life backgrounds that doesn't work as well as I think they wanted it to. It makes it look scary, but that's kind of why I like it. I like it because it looks scary. I wish there were more big swings like this. Whereas in the revival era, they were more consistently good, but there's not a lot of, I'm going to make something completely different that stands out. Like Dinosaur doesn't look like anything else on this list. Fantasia doesn't look like anything else on this list. We switched from 2D to 3D animation here. I mean, obviously we had the 2D animated movies in the revival era, but those are good. Whereas Brother Bear and Home on the Range are not very good. It's funny because the 3D animated movies on this list are closer in quality to the 2D animated movies in the revival era. This is certainly a step down from both the Renaissance and the revival. It might be the worst era, but it's the one I grew up with. It's the one I was given. So that's my life. Thank you for this little therapy session of me recounting the nostalgic movies from my childhood. Tell me your rankings in the comments below. And keep loving Disney movies, guys. I'm going to come back next time with the Renaissance movies ranked. That is the creme de la creme, the best of the best. I'm so excited to do it. Thank you guys so much. Who are we talking about?